Today in the old barn, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be comparing probably the most common typical budget bow, which is a Samick Sage, to a custom recurve. And for this comparison, what I'm going to use is a Black Widow. So this is probably your most common, lower end budget bow. And I could have used a whole number of different bows to compare it to, but I'm using a Black Widow mainly because they're very well known, and to most people they're considered one of the best, and I have one, so I'm going to be using that to compare, and we're going to see if this one holds up to it at all. In this video we're going to talk about the aesthetics of the bow and the materials that they put into them, just the craftsmanship in general. Then we're going to go over and we're going to check the draw weight against what the manufacturer says they are. Then we're going to check the tiller on the bow, and then we're going to do a speed test, check how forgiving it is and just the performance of the bow, and then we're going to talk about customer service and manufacturing and everything that I could think of that somebody would want to know, or the things that I look for when I'm looking at new bows. So if that's what you're looking for, definitely stick around. And if you're only interested in maybe the speed of the bows or something like that, you can just, skip ahead till you get there. But if not, just hang out for a few minutes and we'll cover these bows in pretty good detail. So we're going to look at the aesthetics of these bows, and we're just going to start with the Samick Sage. It doesn't look bad. I think it looks pretty good actually. But there's a few things to notice. They didn't spend very much time sanding it. I really wish that these bushings and stuff that they put in there, they would have, countersunk them so that way they were flushed. They didn't really clean up the holes very well. Whenever we get up into the limb pockets, they do have metal limb pockets, which is surprising. I expected them to be plastic, but I don't know, they're okay. The grip on it, it's a little bit big for my liking, but I think for the average, most people like a bigger grip than I do, but it doesn't look too bad. When we move into the limbs, I'm not really sure what kind of fiberglass they use, and I think that these are maple cores, but they look good. Their tapers look good, their limb wedge looks good, everything looks alright. The way that they bolt on with their limb bolts are knurled thumb screw bolts. They're pretty low quality, but they definitely do the job. There's a little bit of play in there, but not too bad. Then when we move over to the Black Widow, one of the huge benefits of ordering a custom bow is you get to pick your grip, and so this grip is definitely more comfortable. If you look at it, you can just tell that they spent more time sanding on it and cleaning it up. And keep in mind, I've had this bow for a really long time, and so there's dings and scratches and gouges out of it. Those are all me. I've packed this bow a lot of miles. So for the riser, what they're using is, it looks like there's some linen phenolic in there and probably some fiberglass. And then the wood, I think that they use ironwood, which is a stabilized, resin stabilized wood. They put in a vacuum chamber. And so it's actually pretty hefty, but it's definitely durable and strong. If you move over to like the limb pockets here, they use these brass studs, and so they have 2 points of contact. Oop. I think I flipped it over. This one. So these brass studs, there's 2 points of contact, They slide on nice, definitely. So there's actually, when you get these bolted together, they're held together in 3 places. So you have the limb bolt and then those 2 studs. Whereas on a lot of other recurves, it's just the one holding it and then the limb pocket, which is just held on by a couple little screws. So definitely a more secure way of doing that. In their limbs, they have, it's stabilized with fiberglass there in the middle. And I know most custom bowyers use either Gordon's fiberglass or they use bear paw. And so that's a benefit, is I know what goes into this compared to this. I have no idea. They really cheap fiberglass. But definitely better craftsmanship in the custom bow. Feels better. But overall, you know, for the price, the Samick Sage really isn't too bad. So now that we've kind of taken a look at it and looked at the components, let's go find the 2 most honest people that I know that have never lied to me to my knowledge, and see which one they think looks the best.
I want this one.
Which one?
This one.
Why do you like that one better?
Because it got all colors.
It's got all the colors?
Yeah.
Okay.
All the colors that I like.
Okay, which one do you like?
Maybe she like this one.
You like this one or this one?
Maybe she like this one.
Or you like the window?
No, I mean I think Baby Holder like this one.
You want your brother to have this one.
Yeah. And
then you have this one.
Yeah.
Because this one has all the colors.
Yeah.
Wait, you like this one too? Here, you want to hold it?
It's okay. I can hold the baby bowl too.
Oh, so now you've claimed that one as the baby's and this one is yours?
No. I'm just gonna hold the baby.
Okay, you hold that one. So remember, when you're stringing these recurves, you should always use a stringer. Unless you want to use something like this. Voided warranty. Well, there it goes. So now we're going to check the tiller on the bows. And so what the tiller is making sure that the limbs work together. So you don't want one that's too strong and one that's too weak and so forth. So there's a few different ways to check that. And the first, most common and easiest, is you just get any old measuring device. And on a bow like this, you go from the top of the riser, where it meets the limb, and you measure down to where the string is. And this one is at about 7 3/8. So that's the top one, and then the bottom one is right at 7 3/8. And so that's not a problem, especially if you're shooting 3 under. But normally, if you're shooting split finger, you want your top limb to be 1/8 to 1/4 of an inch weaker. So it's actually going to be a little bit longer on that end. This one has what is considered a 0 tiller, which, you know, that's actually a pretty good sign. Now let's check this one. So this one, since it doesn't have where the riser and the limb meets, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to where the fade out is. So this point right here, where this wedge tapers down to nothing, so that should give me a pretty uniform place. So this one right now is at 5 7/8, and then the bottom one down here is 1/8 of an inch shorter. So this one being only 5 3/4, that means that this bow is tillered for shooting split finger, which is the way that I shoot. But at least it's not way off, so I'm pretty impressed so far with the Samick Sage. So I'm going to do 2 things now. I'm going to check the tiller. I'm going to make sure that those limbs are working evenly all the way through the draw cycle, and I'm also going to check the draw weight. So I'm just going to set it up here on this little jig. I'm just going to pull my string, and I'm just watching those limbs to to see how they're working. Okay, so this bow, the manufacturer says that it's 55 pounds, and I have down here, and that's at 28 inches, so I have that marked. And normally it's measured to the front of the riser, but in reality when you're using these, you have to subtract for the thickness here. And so it's actually 26 1/4 from the inside of the grip to 28 inches. And I'm going to put that knocking point on 28 inches, and we'll see what it says. A little bit more, 50, yeah. So it's right on 55 pounds, so they are correct. Okay, now we're going to check the Black Widow. $52. I don't know what's going on. I'm only getting 52.6. Granted, this is an old bow, but it shouldn't have lost that much. Yeah, 52.6. So this is about 1.5 pounds off. Okay, now that we've checked the draw weight and it's right on, so good job, Samick. We're going to check the stack of the bow. So stacking is whenever you're drawing the bow back, and for every inch that you pull back, it gains so much poundage. And so usually the rule of thumb is for every inch you gain 2 to 3 pounds. And where that really comes into play is people with a longer draw length. So if you have a 30-inch draw length or a 31, that usually causes a lot of stacking because those limbs are at the end of its working point. So what we're going to do is we're going to check it, and we're going to see if it goes up about 2 or 3 pounds for every inch whenever we get down here. So there's 25. 26 was 48, so that's about 3 pounds, so that's good. And then it jumped up to 55, then 58, 62, 65. So actually, really not that bad. Okay, about 25, it's about 45 pounds. 26, 47, so 2 pounds. That's actually, the lower that number the better, really. 27 is at 50. We'll check that again, we should know it. See, I went up 52. So this bow so far 55, so it's starting to get 3. But it's definitely not stacking as fast as that Samick Sage. 59. 62. So Black Widow definitely does not stack as bad as that Samick Sage, but the Samick Sage didn't do too bad. Now what we're going to do is we're going to check the speed of these bows. And that's a topic that comes up all the time, is how fast are they? How fast are they, especially in the compound world. But you see a lot of people on YouTube and they're just shooting their bow through a chronograph, and that is completely fine. The problem is you need to have as consistent of a release as possible. And so even though these people might have good form, or a lot of them don't have good form, it's not really giving you a real accurate reading. And so I'm not really looking to see what the speed of these bows are. I'm looking for consistency, and I'm going to be comparing the two. So to do that correctly, what I need is a shooting machine. and I don't have one. And I really don't feel like paying 600 bucks for a Hooter shooter just to see which one of these two bows is faster. The good news is I have a bunch of old lumber and there's a Harbor Freight not too far. So I think I'm going to build one. All right, I got a board and I got a Harbor Freight special trailer winch. I think that this will do the job. So I'm not going to make you sit there and watch me build this whole thing, but maybe we'll do one like a quick montage thing. Think that'd be cool? We'll try it. I'm going to try to name as many bowyers as I can that you should look up. Bobley, Stalker, Wingard, Striker, Big Stick, Blacktail, Black River, Black Widow, Ghostmaker, Hill Country, Checkmate, Caribou, Schaefer Silvertip, Acadian, Pronghorn, Big Gems, Whippin' Sticks, Big Sticks, Northern Mist, St. Joe River, Northward. Man, I should be a rapper. So I got this bow loaded up in my pretty sweet shooting machine. So now I need to go find some arrows. When you're measuring bow speed, you can either use the ATA version of measuring or the IBO version, and that's what commercial manufacturers will use. The problem with that is they use a super light arrow, and some of them even use 80 pounds. And so the rule of thumb for traditional archery is you use 28-inch draw and you do 9 grains per pound. So that Samick Sage is 55 pounds, and so the arrow needs to be 495 grains. So I dug through my bucket of arrows and I had to switch some field points around, but I ended up finding an arrow that is 493.8. So it's a little bit shy, a couple grains, but for what we're doing, this is going to be plenty. So now we'll take this arrow out there and shoot it. I went to shoot it a couple times just to see, make sure it didn't blow up before I put it in this shooting machine. If you notice right here, their little medallion fell out. So, ooh, that's a strike. Before I shoot it through the chronograph, I'm going to shoot it to see where it lands. It looks like there's a crack in the riser. Another strike. Alright, so this is how this thing works. Oh, I need to measure. Oh, I have marks on here. Yep, 26 1/4. Okay, perfect. Firing. Pretty good. Okay. Okay, place your bets. Here goes the warranty if I had one. 193. It's actually surprising. Okay, that should be good. Ready? 191. So I'm gonna say about 192, 193. All right, let me go grab that other bow and we'll do the other one. For the Black Widow, even though it says it's 54 pounds on it, I'm gonna go off of what I got, which was 52. And remember, that is an old bow. So I don't know if usually you don't lose weight that much. It might just be my scale, or our scales were different. So I need an arrow that weighs 468. So I'm using the same arrow. I just I had a 125 grain field point on there. I put 100 grain, and there's a 100 grain brass insert in there, and I have it marked. So I'm using the same exact arrow, and we'll give it a shot. Okay, place your bets. Is this one gonna be faster? Here we go. I'm sure that there's gonna be people cringing on the internet that I would put a Black Widow in this contraption. But you can go buy one, that's fine. Here goes my warranty that I didn't have. Three, two, one. I don't think it read it. It said 191 again. Man, it's windy out here. Air. Dang it. 214. Probably not right. $194, that sounds right. So I didn't realize that the battery had died. So I don't know when it did, so I'm going to shoot it one more time. But I was getting a duplicate of 194 on it. So I just got 194 and 195. Duplicate again of 194, so we'll call that good. After I tested the speed, I got about 192 out of this one, which is surprisingly fast. I didn't expect it to be that fast. But, like I said, before I put it in that homemade shooting machine that I know everybody's cringing about, I shot it 3 times just to make sure everything was good. And so I lost the medallion, and I noticed a crack right here on the shelf. It doesn't look that bad. It acts like a dry fire, which it wasn't. That's just 3 shots. So, I don't know. Keep that in mind. Maybe I got a blemish one, or they didn't have enough super glue in there. But that's all. So, before everybody starts saying it was my shooting machine, it did nothing to it. Manufacturing on it, they're going to be cheaper, but the quality is not going to be there. Like we'd mentioned before, they don't take time to sand, you know. I don't know what kind of fiberglass they're using, but they're producing the fiberglass, and they're making such a high volume of these that they can keep the price point down. And really, for the price, not that bad. Whereas, you know, like a custom bow, like Black Widow, you know exactly where the manufacturing is because it's usually one guy. A lot of times it's in their garage, or they have a little shop behind their house, or they're a smaller company like Black Widow. They have just a handful of employees, and so it leads into customer service. If I had a question specifically about Black Widow, I can give them a call and they'll be able to answer my questions. And it won't just be, you know, some customer service person. It's going to be the person who's building the bow that's going to be answering your questions. And for instance, the guys at Black Widow, I've ran into them a handful of times at different events and things. Super nice guys, easy to talk to. They'll answer any questions, and of course they're trying to sell you a bow, and so they're going to be your best friend, and they're going to tell you everything you need to know. Whereas this bow, the Samick, I ordered off Amazon. There was no manual, no nothing in the box. So customer service, I'm not going to be calling to talk to some guy who put this together who, you know, doesn't even know English, and I don't know. And so customer service is not existent on this. And any custom bow, any bowyer, any bowyer I've ever talked to, super nice, super friendly. and they'll answer any question you have. So that alone, and made in the good old USA, so just that makes this bow so much better. As a final wrap up to this little project that I did, I just want to give you my personal results or my personal findings. First of all, craftsmanship without a doubt goes to the custom bows, and it doesn't matter what kind of bow it is, who the bowyer is, it's going to be better than a production bow like this. Cosmetically, this bow doesn't look too bad, but even my kids chose the Black Widow over this one, so, and they don't lie. Whenever we looked at the draw weight, definitely both of them, this one was a little bit off from my scale, the Black Widow was, but like I said before, this is an old bow, and I've literally put thousands and thousands of shots through it. And so I don't know if you lose poundage over time, but I would be willing to bet that it's probably shot more than it should have. Checking tiller, both of them look good. You can definitely tell in the custom bow that the bowyers are trying to get more performance out of it, and so you can tell by the way that they tillered it, and they did it on purpose, but both of them look good. Going into the speed test, this Samick Sage performed better than I expected. I was over 190, about 192, 193 feet per second, which is super surprising. And remember, that's at 28 inches with a 9 grain per pound arrow. The Black Widow, it did a little bit better just by a couple feet, but remember, I had cat whiskers on that string and some stuff to make it a little bit quieter. This string had nothing. This Dacron string, in theory, should not be as fast as the string I have on this one. I put a BCYX string on it, so it should perform a little bit better, which it did. I got a couple feet faster, but overall, speed-wise, which speed doesn't really mean anything, just to let you know. It's just something that people like to compare their bows to other people with. But they definitely held up just as well. I'm planning on trying to check how quiet this is. This bow is definitely louder right now, but it's because I don't have any kind of string silencer on there. And so in the future, I plan on trying to do that. And then whenever we get into customer service, things like that, and getting to know who actually built the bow, custom bow beats it hands down. So if you're new to archery, or maybe you're switching over from compound to traditional archery and you don't want to put a lot of money into it, you can definitely shoot a Samick Sage, and I still think it is a great option. If you have a little bit more money and you want to support, small businesses, keep it local, and have a beautiful piece of art, definitely go with a bowyer or a custom bowyer, and I don't think you'll ever regret it. So I hope that this video helped you. If you are interested, I'm planning on taking this bow and fixing it, and I just doing this, I came up with some ideas on how I could make this bow better without spending any more money. And so if you're interested in that, make sure that you subscribe, so that way you get a notification whenever I come up with that. And I'm probably going to give this bow away, because to be honest with you, I don't really want it. Oh wait, I forgot to mention something. Hand shock is something that people talk about all the time with traditional bows, whether it's a recurve or a longbow. So what hand shock is the vibration after you shoot it. And so I did feel some vibration, but once again, I didn't have any string silencer on there. And that's going to take that twang away, and it's going to help dampen those vibrations. But with that being said, remember, I just shot it, and their little medallion thing fell off, which says that it definitely has more hand shock. There's some things that I can do to fix it, but I thought I would just throw that in there before somebody puts in the comments that I didn't talk about hand shock, which is a topic that's brought up all the time. So definitely more, but I think we can manage it. So not too bad. All right, you can go now.